It's insane how quickly the story around your program can change. One moment you're hiring a head coach from a rival school you think can change the trajectory of your program back to its heights. And the next moment, he's at Ohio State while you're stuck with a horrifically bad coach hired based off of his NFL career from nearly 20 years ago. That's how quickly things can change. One moment you're winning and the next you aren't. No better place to understand that than PrizePicks, the sponsor of today's video. PrizePicks is available in over 40 states, including California, Texas, and Florida. It's the #1 sports picks app for those who are looking to win big in the most efficient ways possible. How's it efficient, you ask? Because it's easy as all hell to use. For example, I made this flex play lineup here on the app trying to hit the over for all 3 of these NBA players last week. Wendell Carter managed to hit the over, but Jalen Duren vanished from sight for an entire quarter, and I came up short of the goal. Like I said, win some and lose some, but it shows how close you can be to winning big. Plus, there's plenty of different stats and sports to choose from. Progressing our way through the MLB season, there's no better time than now to join the app. Use the promo code HMA when signing up to get $50 in picks off of your first $5 lineup. Just remember above all else to play safely and responsibly. Thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring Squidtard Sports. Anyways, on with the chaos. It's May of the current year. Springtime is midway through the stretch of the seasons, and it's only a matter of time until we hit the summer. It's a captivation of what's to come soon. Hot weather, mosquitoes, and Florida fans claiming that this is the year. Honestly, all those things go together. But just like the seasons change, so does the plant life that stands with it. Roses formed from the very soil we stand on go through a short but continuous life cycle, beaming with light during the summertime light, just to wilt as the year progresses towards the winter stretch. And eventually, it decays into nothing more than a dusted speck of what was 5 months ago. If you've never seen this in real time, you're lying, because that is what we know the UCLA Bruins football squad as today. Lying within a stadium more barren during game day than a theater during the screening of Animal Farm sits a program getting ready for what's going to be yet another rebuild in the current year. Once labeled as the most underachieving program of the land, it's likely now they want to go back to when they achieved it all. It's the cataclysmic outcome of what was the era of head coach DeShaun Foster. Most plants go through a longer life cycle than this man's time as the program's leader. While he's nowhere near the sole reason as to the program's downfall, he's what happens when a program recognizes their downfall, and instead of putting their fists in the right direction, they shove both of them up their own behinds digging for money. He laid the foundation of the program's stature today. Wrong choice of words, they don't even have a stature anymore. But how is it that his time here could end so abruptly and so quickly to the point he didn't even make it through his second season? Well, the short answer to that is alumni. Thanks for watching, and power to Tardaria.
Up the loose ball. Check out Leslie on the replay.
Yeah, you'd like if that was the ending, wouldn't you? That's the cue to click off if you wanted to hear the answer in one word. Now comes the part where I tell you about why this was a bad idea. DeShaun Foster had a very extended history with the Bruins. While born in Charlotte, North Carolina, he was raised within a different coat of blue. Joining the Bruins as a running back, he led the team as a freshman with almost 700 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns. For the next 3 years, he would drive UCLA to 2 different rushing records in his game against Washington. And while they were later broken by Maurice Jones-Drew, it was still an impressive feat that made him a hero in Pasadena. And of course, the eyes of pro scouting agents across the land. He would be chosen 34th overall in the NFL draft by the Carolina Panthers, and he would later become the season-leading rusher, and it would stick that way had it not been for D'Angelo Williams. He was thrown to the piss realm not long afterwards, of which the San Francisco 49ers would bring him in on a 1-year deal in 2008. That lasted as you'd expect. It didn't. The next 3 years were untraceable. As similar to his alma mater's attendance rating, he went like Casper and vanished from sight. It's not the only time he'll do that. This was up until 2012, where UCLA brought him back on campus as a volunteer assistant under Jim Mora's Bruins squad, which is another downhill debacle that I've spoken about in bulk deviates from the train wreck at hand. He basically served as a second-string water boy up until 2014, where he was upgraded to graduate assistant. He worked in the shadows for years, serving as a cheerleader for the running back corps, and then he did it again after being offered his first coaching position at Texas Tech. I chose to word it like that because the Red Raiders, as you know, never run the ball under anybody, and that includes Cliff Kingsbury, or really anyone else for that matter. But where Tech saw a vacant lot, Jim Mora saw opportunity. He brought him back on the staff the very next season, where he served as a motivational beacon for his alma mater and later on developed talent. Mora bringing him on was probably the last thing he did, because shortly afterwards, he got sent to the Shadow Realm. After the time of his departure, they would waste no time in bringing in not quite retiring yet Chip Kelly, who spent a year in Cancun following a stint with the 49ers. Kelly would retain Foster for later use, and then DeShaun Foster would help transform backs like Joshua Kelly, Demetric Felton, Brenton Brown, and Zach Charbonnet into versatile assets that sometimes did a thing every so often. Most years, UCLA sucked too hard to be remembered as anything other than Pacific sewer leakage to be drained in the ocean and thrown to the Mountain West. But Charbonnet and a top 10 rushing attack in 2022 opened the door for the college football world to take notice of Foster's work. Through the entire Kelly arc, Foster would remain dormant as the man who controlled the running backs, never taking on a higher position as Chip saw no need for that. He was the offensive coordinator and the head coach. And while that certainly showed its stride sometimes, that stride came to a streaking halt when the Bucknuts had something to say about it.
That's it, I'm out of here.
From the first sight in a position with Ohio State, Kelly bolted for a spot as the new offensive coordinator for Ohio State. It's here where I'd like to take a moment to highlight a man probably more hated in Pasadena than Foster or Chip, and he is still there. Oh my God! Enter Martin Jarman. After Dan Guerrero packed his shit for vacation following an 18-year run with the Bruins during the COVID year, Jarman came from Boston College to serve as the new athletic director for the school. The state of the Golden Eagles basketball team could have told you why this wasn't the wisest idea. He was one of the youngest ADs in the sport, and that'd be a good thing if he had interest in retaining him for a long time. And honestly, the fact that he's still there tells me that they do. But he's already coming off of a lot of baggage at his previous destination, and being in a higher market for sports, the weight of success is far more aggressive, despite the attendance rate being what it is. He is seen as a man who understands economics in the current year better than most, but last I checked, economics isn't taking millions of dollars, shitting on it, and throwing it in a bucket of fire. He struggled to adapt to the changes, and that was seen through Chip Kelly's recruiting. Kelly never got the assets needed to make a change for the Bruins, which is probably a defining factor of why he departed to Ohio State in the first place. This fire was fueled to the max, and the fans realized Kelly got an extension from UCLA approved just months before his departure. So not only did Jarman refuse and publicly defended Kelly through his worst seasons, he gave him an extension for winning 9 games, which he promptly took on his way out the door. I know they enforced the buyout money in return, but what a daggum mess. His stature was already in hot water to the 12 UCLA fans that actually cared about football, but that wasn't the issue. The problem was with the donors, for even they had enough of the bullshit. When the ones funding the program are not liking the direction the program is heading in, it's a one-way course to Auburn land. And trust me, that ain't fun. With the transition to the Big Ten from the remnants of the Pac-12 now on the horizon, of which he fully endorsed by the way, Jarman scrambled to find an answer to his problems, and gave himself less than 100 hours to find it. A couple of farts on the phone later on February 12, 2024, and he found his target from within the walls of LA. And this is where the story really goes to hell. From within the program, this was about the best option they considered other than making Jarman himself the head coach for Gits and Shiggles. Foster was one of the rare cases of a coach who went from a position coordinator all the way to a head coaching spot off of one hire. Of course, the primary reason being for that was that there wasn't an offensive coordinator to promote. He was given a 5-year contract for $3 million in the first year with an annual increase of $100,000. Part of the purpose for this hire, and probably the main reason, was to attempt a far smoother transition to next season, as hiring a head coach from outside of this sphere would further incentivize recruits and current players to bounce at other schools. Unfortunately, f*** you. NIL cares not for trying to revive a program. A lot of the damage was already done before Chip even considered the Ohio State job, such as 5-star quarterback Dante Moore bailing for the Ducks, Kamari Ramsey, John Humphrey, Carson Ryan, and a bunch of meat from the offensive line had already also departed. Foster's hire mitigated the damage to some degree when the spring portal window opened up, and the good news is that it left opportunities open for potential growth going into said spring season. Rico Flores Jr., Michael Carmody, Brian Addison, and KJ Wallace were some of the additions taken into account for the upcoming season. Additionally, TJ Harden and Keegan Jones chose to stick around for some unknown reason to help out when Ethan Garbers vanishes off the field again. They had some level of faith in the running back room despite the lack of experience of their head coach. Oh no, it's Kenny Burns all over again. But with a new season comes new changes to prove everyone wrong. The season upcoming can be reflected upon his Big Ten Media Days opening statement.
How you guys doing? I'm happy to be here. Glad to be a part of this great conference. Finally putting two great emblems together, UCLA and the Big Ten. we're a school that's won, 123 championships, so this fits us being right in this conference. Football-wise, we're just excited. I'm sure you guys don't know too much about UCLA, but our football program, but we're in LA.
What? Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
It's us and USC. We
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Well, if that proved anything, you proved just how significant it was for Dante Moore to get out of that shit show. As if the schedule wasn't brutal enough, having to battle against the likes of Penn State, Indiana, LSU, and Oregon all in the same season, the offense that we bear witness to was far more disturbing. With Foster now being a head coach and incapable of running it like Chip Kelly did, Eric Bieniemy came in from the pros to coach an offense at the college level. Do I need to tell you how this usually goes? The rushing attack, which was once the identity of Foster's entire career, was love tyrant levels of unwatchable. It was Oliver and the Viltrumite war levels of useful. Mixed in with Ethan Garber's predictably vanishing from sight sporadically behind a papier-mâché offensive line, and it created one of the worst offenses in the country. 18.4 points a game on average. That's the type of shit that gets you canned at Iowa.
Say, Coach, our running game appears to have taken a steep decline over the course of this last season. Before, we had like 4 touchdowns rushing. Now we can't even get half of a touchdown. I don't even know how that's possible. Is there perhaps any film that we can watch? Anything that we can do to sort of start running the ball better to some possibility? No.
Had it not been for a strong support on the defensive front, the Rose Bowl would have turned into nothing more than fertilizer for the daggum cows. Funny enough, after defensive coordinator Deonton Lynn backstabbed the program for USC, it was expected that the defense would take a step back. However, the promotion of Ikaika Malo would wound up being a great move, but it in no way saved the season. The line set up Garbers to consistently get bodied through multiple games, which affected his rhythm and moreover, his health. Him and the injury bug got along very well. He was second in line to Cam Rising in that friend department, and that's only if it wasn't chewing apart what's left of the UCLA offensive line. It's considered sort of a miracle that the Bruins were able to come away with wins in the conference down the stretch. Garbers finally got some protection against the non-existent pass rush of Rutgers, throwing for almost 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. Lit up Nebraska as well. He even did the same to Iowa by beating them at their own game. While the offense was an embarrassment in most weeks and they continued to lose in clutch situations, UCLA was at the bare minimum competitive. And that's worth a lot of credit for a program amidst another rebuilding cycle. But no bowl game in a 5-7 season left a lot of room for improvement. However, as is synonymous with programs in the middle or bottom of the Power 4 pecking order, they were poached by higher class schools. With the school's NIL budget being as thin as it is, they only had the resources for a few high product players and couldn't afford to do what USC was doing. They had to be strategic. That starts with forgetting Eric Bieniemy ever existed.
Get the fuck out of here!
Excellent work. They followed this move with what most these days are going to be doing and took someone from the Kirk Cignetti program bloodline. Co-offensive coordinator from Indiana, Tino Sunseri, took over offensive duties in his stead. However, he would be gifted with a whole new set of guys to train for the grind. Garbers went to the Panthers practice squad, and most of the running back room is vacant with many losses. The offensive line got revamped with new players across the board, as well as most positions on the board. This included taking Javian Thomas from the neighboring rivals now stuck in Tank Conference. The most significant change and chance for redemption would be in the form of their newest quarterback, Joey Aguilar. Transferring in from Appalachian State, he's as close to a no-fucks-given type of quarterback you can get. He might throw picks, actually, he will throw picks, but he will also put up some great Wait, what's that sound?
The UCLA Bruins have made a trade with the Tennessee Volunteers. With the first pick in the 2025 NCAA Draft, the UCLA Bruins select...
Oh boy, I sure do hope the fans aren't paying for that like we did.
Say, Coach, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it appears we've somehow made a trade in the college football world. We traded Joey Aguilar, who almost led the nation in passing yards last year, to a guy called Nico. I'm going to do something for you every once in a while. I'm not really seeing it. I mean, was there any particular reason for that? Is Is there any particular purpose as to why? I mean, did we even watch any film in this guy? No.
Well, I certainly hope for your sake that he winds up being the target that you wanted. A small loan of $1 million is what you're paying for, 57th in passing yards. So have a good time with that one. Foster basically gambled everything on this, so either it pans out and he's proclaimed a hero, or it doesn't and he's hated nearly as much as Jarman. I wonder which one it's gonna be.
Starting games fast. Zero blitz. Opens up and a first drive score for Utah.
Welcome to pain. Don't worry, there's plenty of room for it in the Big Ten with 18 teams now in the conference, but this is advanced pain. The defense regressed far from what it was last season. They were unable to stop air and finished only a few places ahead of dead last in the FBS. Surely the offense took a step forward from 18.4 points a game. Oh, you naive son of a Lane Kiffin. If only you knew. It got worse. 18.2 points a game. I didn't think it was possible Foster could look any more unprepared than his opening speech, but holy shit was I wrong. Utah in the opening game against UCLA made that all too clear, as they did all they wanted to with poor Nico and company. Don't get me wrong, I lolled and lamowed plenty of times watching that for reasons outside of the Bruins, but boy, it was a disaster. The fire only burned brighter following the dud against UNLV. They just got through letting up 500 yards of offense against French Fry University, and the Bruins still couldn't figure out how to run the ball in any capacity. They were down 23-3 at halftime. They tried to come back, but Foster dare not find out how to win in the clutch. As if being cooked was the worst it could get, they figured out what being deep fried felt like when this happened. Public program execution. They didn't just lose to the Lobos, they were outright humiliated, romantically attracted to the dumpster. Jason X showed Foster what being a real head coach looks like, and that showed on the field. His team went into the Rose Bowl and made it theirs. UCLA was less unprepared and more unwilling. They had clearly quit on their coach, and the effort they put out there was a clear illustration of how hard they wanted to play for somebody else. The Lobos hardly had to try because the Bruins were giving them the game for penalty yards alone. They had 13 flags thrown against them in this game, and only this game. Nico looked lost, the running game was becoming less and less existent, and now the defense is following suit. It was clear to anyone with eyes, ears, or a Twitter account that this wasn't working at all.
Say, Coach, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it appears we are getting raw dogged in our own stadium by a G5 Colorado, built their team entirely out of transfers, and they're running us out of our own building. So, yeah, this is really bad. This is really bad, Coach. There's got to be something we can do. What can we do, Coach? What can we do? There's got to be something we can do. What can be done to salvage this game, to salvage this season? We're already 0-3, Coach. What can we do? No.
There was a way indeed to save themselves. The solution was expected from the start of the coaching hire somewhere down the line, but not entirely this early.
Get the freak out of here! Get the freak out!
Before he could even get his feet above the water, Foster drowned in the depths of the Shadow Realm, fired before the end of the second season. This brought his final record as their head coach to an astounding 5-10. His 15-game tenure marks the shortest full-time coaching mark in UCLA history, besides the man who started the program back over a full century ago. He's not fully to blame, for that honor belongs to the administration, but he was a signal for what would eventually turn UCLA into the California Clowns of the college football world. Hard title to take from Cal and Stanford, but you pulled it off. Great job. You get a gold star. I don't know what UCLA was thinking at all. They cut corners for a guy who had no business being a head coach. It was in the middle of February and the coaching market wasn't exactly in high demand. Just like Jarman, he could never adapt to the ever-changing sphere, and it cost him dearly. Speaking of Jarman, he's still hated probably more than Foster is. Details came out about the budget of the school from the last 5 seasons, of which the department has burned through a net deficit of $200 million for the results that the fans have seen in that period. So I want you to take a guess at where this guy is right now. What do you think happened to Jarman following this debacle? He's still there. Why? They extended him. They extended him all the way through 2029. No, it's not a joke. Granted, this was part of a deal made 2 years ago, so it's a little better, but that isn't really saying much. This is literally like if Brian Kelly got a pay raise after last season instead of getting fired. Nonetheless, this is how the DeShaun Foster experience comes to a close. A program wilted to near dust because of a set of repeated failures stacked like dominoes. As for Foster's whereabouts today, I don't know. There's literally no trace of him. He hasn't even gone into the Sark rehabilitation clinic yet. Hope he's at least doing well, and if anyone has any sense, they'll bring him on their staff for an offensive boost. As for UCLA, immediately following the fire, the fans, or lack thereof, were dejected, the administration was just about ready to pull the plug on the entire season, and everyone was in hell. Well, that was at least until our 2025 Clown of the Season had something to say about that.
Here's Nuke incoming! Everybody get down! Sir!
As well. They might have one right here. Reaching for the pylon. Touchdown, UCLA. Nico fires. End zone. Touchdown. Yes, he will. And he's in. Touchdown. In the gun. Yamaliava. And he's in again. Touchdown. Yamaliava scans the field. Nico's going to take off. Nico to the end zone. Game barring a penalty. Aller, there's the hook. And the lateral. And the ball game is over. The Bruins of UCLA at home win their first game of the year. They carry Jerry New.
Say, Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears that we might have somehow traded in the NCAA one of our guys, our starting quarterback, Joey Aguilar, one of the top passers in the country last year. So it appears we have... Smokey! Dude! No! Dude! What the heck, man?